This is No BS Job Search Advice Radio, episode 2037. I'm your host, Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome. 2 more days till Christmas, 1 more day till I take a break till after the new year. Did I sound punchy there? I think I did. And today's show is a short one talking about moving from the public sector to the private sector. It's not all-inclusive. There's just some basic information to remind you of as you begin this effort. Hope you find it helpful. Hope you give it a great review wherever you listen to the show. And with that, I'll be back in just one moment after a word from our sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by Fiverr.com. That's the word 5 with 2 R's after it.com. Fiverr is a site for freelance work. You can hire freelancers to do a variety of things for you. You can be a freelancer on it as well and experiment with the site to see whether what you want to be doing professionally outside of the rat race, outside of your full-time job, is viable. It's basically a site where they'll do the billing and collection for you and pay you once they've received the money. In addition, if you want to hire people like I do for book editing, transcriptions and such, very inexpensive, and I've had very good work for me. So again, it's Fiverr.com. You can use the link in the show notes. Frankly, you'll get a good deal from it if you do that. Now, let's get going. One of my followers on LinkedIn, or one of my connections on LinkedIn, sent me a note. While I just read it. What would you suggest for someone getting out of the public sector as a means to get back into the private sector? Thank you, Randall. There isn't a lot of information to go on, so it really depends on what you've been doing in the public sector. Let me give you some generalized tips. Oh, by the way, not just what you've done in the public sector, but how long you've been out of the private sector. So I'm going to try and give you a couple of variables. First of all, for someone who has only been out for a couple of years, you obviously have that history from the private sector. Get it onto page 1 of your resume so that people can see you haven't just been public sector your entire career. Secondly, when you talk about public sector work, make sure you define your role, responsibilities, and accomplishments, and if you're in IT, the technology that you've utilized, in a way that's applicable to the private sector. Deny the jargon. Catch that phrase. Deny the jargon. Every business has its own language of how it refers to things. And in the public sector, it has its jargon. Don't use it. Go back to private sector language to define what you did and how you went about doing it. Talk about your successes there. Now, I'm not talking about social services. Again, I'm talking about administrative or leadership functionality that can be useful in the private sector. If you've been in a social services role, or you've been working in an unemployment office, for example, it depends on the role that you're going to apply for. But in general, if you've been in administrative or leadership roles in public sector, you want to emphasize your functionality that relates to the private sector. You also want to talk about your successes. If you've only been out for a couple of years, as I said, you get that information onto page 1. Now, if you've been out for a long time, it's hard. I'm not going to kid you. There's no magic bullet here. Not every firm is going to believe you or care. What they want is what they want. All you can do is package the information in ways that they can understand it and they can see what's applicable to their particular needs. Again, from their standpoint, they don't care what you want. They care what their problem is and how you can help solve it. So you have to speak to that in both your resume and in the cover email that you send to them.
So that's today's show. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, here are a few more ways to get information and advice from me. First of all, visit my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us. Go to the blog. There's a lot there to help you. In addition, if you need interview advice, I've created a course called the Ultimate Job Interview Framework, available as a video on udemy.com. That's udemy.com, or available as a paperback or for Kindle on Amazon, and will help you stand out in a great way on your interviews. Also, if you're interested in my coaching you, there's a button on the site that says schedule. Schedule time for a free discovery call or schedule yourself in for coaching. I will love to help you. I'm able to help with regard to interview preparation, leadership coaching, salary negotiation advice, making a good decision between different offers, anything related to improving yourself in the workplace. If you have questions for me, you can schedule 15 minutes with me at thebiggamehunter.us/live, or an even less expensive way is at thebiggamehunter.us/video answers, where you can leave a message for me and I'll respond with a 3 to 5 minute video. Please financially support the podcast by clicking the button below and pledging whatever you'd like. I really appreciate it. Finally, watch me on TV. Download the Job Search TV app for fireTV, firestick, or Roku, or bingenetworks.tv for Apple TV and 90-plus smart TV platforms. I'll be back tomorrow with more. In the meantime, I hope you have a great day. Be great!